It turns out that Ukraine partners with FTX to receive donations for Ukraine, donations which the Ukrainian people, not a single one of them, has reported they received. $90 billion. More than the entire military budget of Russia. More than the entire budget. Not a single Ukrainian I know has received it. This now is being called the biggest financial fraud case in U.S. history. It is certainly the biggest single one-day loss. His wealth went from $22 billion personal wealth, to zero. He's got nothing. But this affected a lot of people. How many users were on FTX? 1 million users. Cannot exit, cannot cash out. Their accounts are frozen. The investors had put in around $1.8 billion in the past 3 years. That's gone. And you're talking about some big names. Some of the biggest losers are SoftBank, Sequoia Capital, the Singapore government's investment arm called Temasek, and of course the Ontario's Teachers Union. So teachers tend to be left-wing, so they followed this left-wing crowd. So this company that was valued at $32 billion is pretty much close to zero right now. Many people were duped, or they were in on it. And it's hard to imagine that they could be duped because it's so obvious, the connections. It's so obvious, the kickbacks, the paybacks. SBF connects Ukraine, the World Economic Forum, the SEC, the Democrats, and even Joe Biden. So we're going to have to go back a few months and go back to a picture that was remarkable to me. We were told one day in May 2022 that Nancy Pelosi would take 6 Democrats from Congress and go visit Ukraine. Now, when this happened, my spirit perked up. And I asked the question, why? And then I wrote a blog on Substack, and I said this. Nancy Pelosi had no power to resolve the conflict there. Her mission was not announced. She had no reason to be there. Nobody sent her. Why was the highest-ranking member of the U.S. House of Representatives meeting with the Ukrainian Prime Minister, Volodymyr Zelensky? Why? And the only conclusion, the plausible answer, is that they had some things to say off record. It couldn't be by phone. It couldn't be recorded in an email. So my question is, what was whispered in those private European rooms? Here's how it worked. Biden kept insisting that to be compassionate, to be patriotic, to be a defender of democracy, we, all of us, including Australia, have to send billions of dollars over to Ukraine, to an actor who could have settled the score with Russia quietly at a negotiation table. Russia had some reasonable demands. Don't join NATO. Don't put NATO on our borders. Don't do that. Well, that was something NATO promised. It's not unreasonable for Putin to say, well, keep your promise. And he said, there are Russians that are being killed in the tens of thousands for the past 8 years. We have gone to the European Union, we've gone to NATO, we've asked, stop it. Nobody does it, so we're coming in to protect our ethnic people. They're in the Donbass region. Stop killing Russians. Stop persecuting Russian speakers in Ukraine like they're second-class citizens. Ukrainians know that this happens, and they couldn't get satisfaction talking, so they went to war. What business of ours is that, to send our billions of dollars over to Ukraine? So what happened then is, the money goes to Ukraine, and then Ukraine puts the money in FTX. It's called investment. Now, actually, governments have no business investing. Governments should protect the border, defend us from enemies, and then leave us alone. There's no mandate for governments to invest for us, but they do, because people have become ignorant. We've become dull, mentally dull. They invest in FTX. FTX then, we know for sure, sends the money to the Democratic Party and what's called the super PACs. These guys bundle up money. Instead of taking just one or two donations, they bundle up millions of dollars, hundreds of millions, and they give it to the candidate. And they're spending billions of dollars. Beto O'Rourke spent $200 million. Chump change for politicians. Imagine, that's like a jackpot in the lottery. That's life-changing wealth. He blew $200 million away on failed campaigns that somebody obviously paid for to be Texas governor, U.S. senator, president, U.S. president. Who spends $200 million on a job that pays $100,000? Tell me that. A crook. Only a crook would spend millions of dollars for a job that pays, at most, the president pays $400,000 a year.